This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
Rice investors from Philippines to arrive in country tomorrow. Transport and Civil Aviation signs new MOA with Rural Airstrips Agency. And health experts create awareness on neglected tropical diseases. A very good evening. You're watching National MTV News. I'm Godwin Eki. Thank you for joining us. We begin with our top story. The first potential rice investors from the Philippines will arrive in country tomorrow, the 24th of January, to visit potential rice zones in Kairuku and Rigo districts in the Central Province. This is an invitation by the Minister of International Trade and Investment. The team will be led by PNG Ambassador to the Philippines, Betty Palazzo, and the former Department of Agriculture Secretary of the Philippines, Emmanuel Pino.
With the Marape Rosso government's vision to replace imports in the country, a focused determination has been set by the Ministry of International Trade and Investment. Papua New Guinea has been a major importer of rice over the past decades, as alluded to by the Minister for International Trade and Investment, Richard Maru. Present today was Minister for International Trade and Investment Richard Maru, Acting Secretary for International Trade and Investment Jacinta Warakai Manua, and Papua New Guinea Ambassador to the Philippines Betty Palazzo. Minister Maru has made the announcement that the ministry is planning on creating a domestic rice industry in the country. This will be made possible with the agreement of the Philippines rice investors arriving tomorrow to visit potential rice zones in Central Province.
Invited them to come and look at investing in Papua New Guinea. We want to build a domestic rice industry instead of importing from other countries.
Compared to the PNG Philippines rice agreement made back in 2019, Minister Maru explains this agreement.
They are completely new.
PNG Ambassador to the Philippines, Betty Palazzo, gave an overview of the arrival of the investors to PNG tomorrow.
He's also bringing in a specialist from a big rice grower in the Philippines who's also into different varieties of rice, who will also be coming in. And so he's got a good team coming in, including scientists. There's a team member who's also from the United States. So he's specific about what the team wants to do, and they're very keen on looking at the possibilities here in Papua New Guinea. So
Acting Secretary for International Trade and Investment, Jacinta Warakai Manua, said this visit will signal other potential investors in the world that PNG is determined.
Guinea is welcoming investors. These are renowned investors in the rice industry. And for them to come to Papua New Guinea, it sends a big signal to others out there that Papua New Guinea is surely a place that they can come and invest in. So it's a positive move on our side to see the investors from the Philippines arriving here on our shores tomorrow.
Grace Papiali, National MTV News.
The Minister for International Trade and Investment, Richard Maru, has revealed plans of completing the Special Economic Zone Master Plan and presenting it to Parliament in the next Parliament sitting in March. Upon that, he announced that Papua New Guinea will become trading partners and have a trade committee in place with Indonesia and the Philippines. He said this today when announcing the visit of the Philippines rice investors at the National Trade Office in Port Moresby.
One of the key countries we want to do business with is Indonesia. I'm happy to inform all of you that we met with the Indonesian ambassador and asked him to arrange the first historic trade meeting between Indonesia and Papua New Guinea in March. And while the ambassador is here, we will be giving her a letter to also go back to the Philippines and ask the request the Trade Minister of the Philippines and his government to agree to holding a first historic trade meeting between the Philippines and Papua New Guinea in April. March, Indonesia. April, we want to move to the Philippines.
The government has signed a memorandum of understanding with Rural Airstrip Agency to restore and maintain all airstrips throughout the country. Minister for Transport and Civil Aviation Walter Schnobelt said the signing of MOA marks a renewed partnership with the Rural Airstrips Agency of Papua New Guinea, which lapsed 5 years ago.
Flanked by RAA's Chief Executive Officer Sailasa Hawafa and Transport Secretary Roy Mumu, Minister Schnobelt explained that this MOA will see the transition of RAA into a government entity.
This MOA is for a term of 3 years. This is to ensure that the critical and effective work of connecting rural communities across PNG is continued.
Schnobelt highlighted that with a dispersed population and with mountainous terrains, air travel is necessary, especially in remote communities across the country that depend heavily on air transport. Operating through a public-private partnership arrangement with the government since 2013, RAA has been in operation for about a decade now, connecting rural communities to services. The Rural Airstrip Program update also includes the National Transport Strategy, or NTS.
The NTS aims for a 3- to 4-fold increase in domestic air traffic by 2030. This includes rehabilitating 50 small rural airstrips.
The RAA's ultimate vision is for rural communities to have access to basic goods and services and to restore and maintain safe rural airstrips throughout the country. It was heard during the signing this morning that some airstrips are dormant and will be rehabilitated soon after the signing of this MOA. When asked when exactly the rehabilitation and restoration work will commence, this was Minister's response.
We've got teams down there now surveying, looking at it, or even working on upgrading it as well. There's also a support program or a partnership program within the districts and the Rural Airstrip Agency in relation to some associated funding to get the survey done. So some of those the district has contributed to those exercise, and it's underway right now.
Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, Minister for Transport and Civil Aviation Walter Schnobelt has announced under the ADB arrangement, which is CAPID 2, the following airports have been identified for refurbishment.
The first airport under the CADEP 2 focus or funding will be Gurney Airport, where you got the asphalt servicing, new terminal building, and associated works are the focus of funding. Number 2, Kiunga Airport. Number 3, Aropa Wewak Airport. Number 5, Hoskins Airport. And number 6, Port Moresby International Airport, where we got power upgrade and airfield lighting upgrade as well.
In the lead up to the Neglected Tropical Diseases, or NTDs, on Monday, the 30th of January 2023, an expert on NTDs from the National Department of Health and the World Health Organization came together in a press conference facilitated by the World Health Organization to create awareness on NTDs and the most affected provinces in the country.
Historically, people afflicted with neglected tropical diseases have been shunned or ignored by the world, their countries, and sometimes even the communities. Neglected tropical diseases, or NTDs, are called neglected because they are almost absent from the global health agenda. Even today, when the focus is on universal health coverage, NTDs have very limited resources and are almost ignored by global funding agencies. NTDs are a diverse group of 20 conditions that are mainly prevalent in tropical areas, where they mostly affect impoverished communities and disproportionately affect women and children. These diseases cause devastating health, social and economic consequences to more than 1 billion people. The epidemiology of NTDs is complex and often related to environmental conditions. According to Dr. Lucy John from the National Department of Health, out of the 20 conditions worldwide, 8 is found in PNG.
In Papua New Guinea, about 7 of them or 8 of them. But in general, there are about 20 listed neglected tropical diseases. So in Papua New Guinea, we have lymphatic filariasis, yaws, leprosy, trachoma, soil-transmitted ailments.
From the 8 diseases in PNG, Dr. John emphasized that there are cures available by the National Department of Health. However, there are also challenges that are faced.
But how do we go and give the medicine to the people in an operational manner down to the province? This is our challenge in terms of manpower, in terms of funding, in terms of the geographical terrain.
On a global level, the World Health Organization is working hard with partners to fight against NTDs, with Dr. Sarosh Jamil speaking on the role the World Health Organization carries out.
Information, education and communication strategy is one of the most strongest pillar of these programs, and the media has a role to play in that. So you can spread the good word.
More recently, thanks to growing global awareness of the burden of NTDs imposed on millions of people around the world, efforts by the World Health Organization and other partners collaborating with the National Department of Health, more awareness has been done to prevent these disabling diseases from expanding. Rocky Iso, National MTV News.
National MTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National MTV News. The Eminent Persons Group, or EPG, committee responsible for revising Papua New Guinea's foreign policy white paper to conduct an independent review of past revision endeavours to establish a modern direction for international diplomacy, which will be used to guide the functions and workings of foreign affairs, have begun preliminary work to ensure the foreign affairs white policy paper is ready in 12 months' time.
For 47 years, PNG has not had a foreign policy white paper. Governor for New Ireland Province, Sir Julius Chan, had back in 1982 launched the country's first foreign policy white paper titled Active and Selective Engagement. The foreign policy white paper followed a foreign policy review commissioned by PNG's first Prime Minister, the late Sir Michael Somare, in 1979. However, according to Justin Chichenko, Minister for Foreign Affairs, 3 reviews were conducted in the past but never implemented.
It's all about reviewing and looking at the best way forward for Papua New Guinea through foreign policy and through our Department of Foreign Affairs into the future. Having a template there, a guide for our ambassadors, our high commissioners, foreign missions, to understand their role for the sovereignty of our country as well.
Minister Chichenko revealed that when he became foreign minister, one of the first things on his agenda was to get the foreign policy white paper implemented.
For me, it's not about talking about it, it's about making it happen. And putting a timeline, putting a deadline, so that we all work together for the benefit of knowing what we're out to achieve. Not just talking about it, but making it happen. So the mistakes of the past is history. We learn from those, we review those, and we put in concrete a new template for our foreign policy now and into the future.
Minister Chichenko revealed preliminary work of the committee had already begun, with the terms of reference being finalised for an official submission to be presented to the National Executive Council. He also formally introduced the 7 eminent Papua New Guineans, or EPGs, that will be tasked to review the white paper, with Sir Charles Lapani to chair the committee.
The preliminary work of going over the terms and conditions and The whole situation is being negotiated at the moment, so we're all on the same page. We just had a very constructive meeting over the last hour now about how we're going to move forward with this foreign policy white paper.
The review of the foreign policy white paper will guide the national government and all diplomatic staff on all matters concerning foreign engagement and diplomatic relations. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
The Department of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology has fully paid all its TESAs outstanding for last year's Semester 2 for all tertiary students under TESA. Acting Secretary for DHES, Dr. Francis Hualup Momi, assured parents and students that all outstanding for 2022 and payments for 2023 TESAs has been warranted for payment.
Dr. Hualup Momi said the government stands true to its commitment in supporting education in the country. Through this commitment, funding has been made available for DHES to complete all its outstanding fees for last year and fees for the 2023 academic year. This also includes the HELP program.
I want to assure parents, students, including all the higher learning institutions that the warrants have been received, and starting this week we will disperse the funds to the respective institutions. This includes the HELP or the loan for students. This week also we will complete last year's payments.
Continuing students and first-year students on TESAs can now go to Air Niugini offices and check for their tickets to travel to their respective institutions. Dr. Hualup Momi said for the first time, DHES has secured a total of 18,000 spaces for students in tertiary institutions. He said this is a big achievement for the department as well as the country.
So for the first time in our TESA scholarship, we were able to sponsor all the students to all the higher learning institutions, in particular the institutions that have the capacity to accommodate those students.
DHES will now work with the relevant departments to make sure payments are made to the different tertiary institutions. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
The Chief of Defence Force, Major General Mark Goina, has announced today that the Papua New Guinea Defence Force will be celebrating its 50th anniversary establishment in the country. This will include the commemoration parade and plaque unveiling at the headquarters at Murray Barracks.
In a media conference held today at Murray Barracks PNGDF headquarters, the Chief of Defence Force, Major General Mark Goina, announced that the force will be celebrating its establishment. It was held at the conference that in January 1966, Headquarters Northern Command in Australia was disengaged, culminating the rise of Papua New Guinea Defence Force.
A joint force headquarters was established on the 1st February 1972. And was further designated Headquarters Papua New Guinea Defence Force on the 26th January 1976.
Since its establishment, PNGDF has engaged in various strategic and operational functions for the Papua New Guinea Defence Force. Some of these include deployment of PNGDF Kumul Force to Vanuatu in 1980, maintenance of border security operations and other significant support the force has provided over the years. This week at the headquarters, the PNGDF will be conducting a number of activities to commemorate this occasion.
GDF's, or Chief of Defence Forces, monthly church parade and reaffirmation on Wednesday, 25th January 2023 at the Sioni Kami Memorial Church in Gardens, and 50th anniversary parade and a plaque unveiling on Thursday, the 26th January 2023 at Murray Barracks Parade Grounds. And lastly, Chief of Defence Force monthly walk and the 50th anniversary barbecue and cake cutting on Friday, the 27th January 2023.
In concluding, the Chief of Defence Force congratulated all his men and women, past and present, for their duty and service and wished all happy 50th anniversary celebrations. Lindy Suharupa, National MTV News.
A local charity organization called the Life PNG Care is sponsoring around 600 children under its Strong in Pikinini Education Scholarship Program to go to various schools, starting from elementary to tertiary institutions for this year, 2023. National Director for Life PNG Care, Colin Pakeyakio, said they are all about investing in education for children.
The National Director Colin Yakio said PNG will not have a good future with so many children on the streets. He said when he sees school-aged children on the streets, it has challenged him to put up his family house at Garahu to take care of around 75 children.
And for Life PNG Care, we believe in future generation, and if we really want to invest, it's not about investing in other sector, but human resource is key as a developing country.
Under Life PNG Care's Strong in Pikinini program, more than 600 children have been taken care of nationwide and will be sponsored to schools for this academic year. Mr. Yakio said for this year, 14 children under the program will be sponsored to tertiary institutions.
We have 8 students this year are attending universities and colleges. Last year we have 6, and we have graduated our first kid, who is a Golela boy. He graduated with bachelor degree in UPNG. He is the first kid on the street, 2 Mile Hill.
Yakio said the government of the day must focus on the children, as children are the future of the nation.
We talk about oil and gas, and we talk a lot about all our resources. But one day those resources will be gone. And what will be left behind is these children.
Life PNG Care aims to make a positive impact in the lives of disadvantaged and vulnerable children and youth in PNG and to help strengthen families. Cynthia Maku, National MTV News.
Octedi Mining Limited advises that majority stakeholders, Kumul Minerals Limited or KMOTL, has made changes to its nominated directors of the company.
The country's longest operational mine, Octedi, has seen changes to its board of directors. The statement released today confirms the changes which were ratified at an OTML board meeting conducted yesterday, 22nd of January 2023, which has seen Miss Nellie James, who was the chairlady of the Kumul Minerals Holdings Limited and a director of the OTML board, and Dr. Roger Higgins, who was the chairman of the OTML, cease in their respective roles. The new directors joining the OTML board are Dr. Ila Temu, Mr. Saremu Kanu and Mr. Jeffrey Inns. Mr. Temu was recently appointed as the chairman of KMHL, while Mr. Kanu is the managing director of Kumul Mineral Holdings Limited, and Mr. Inns, who previously held an executive management position with OTML several years ago, is a director of KMHL. Kumul Minerals Octedi Limited, in its capacity as majority shareholder, has appointed Mr. Innes, who is an experienced industry professional, to serve as chairman of OTML with immediate effect. The changes to the board follow the departure of former managing director and chief executive officer Mujay Wera last month. Rocky Iso, National MTV News.
And now taking a look at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2840 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, Yokina was buying $0.2765 US, $0.3934 Australian dollars, $0.2469 euro, 34.35 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York closed, gold is trading lower, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed lower, copra closed lower, palm oil closed lower, crude oil is trading lower, copper closed higher. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National MTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National MTV News. Moving on to overseas news. For the past few months, we've been covering the flooding of the River Murray as huge volumes of water slowly move through the systems. Peak flows have now reached South Australia's lower lakes down at the mouth of the Murray.
We're seeing upstream communities really banding together. A whole lot of clean-up efforts are taking place and community events being held around it. I'm standing here at the Renmark Club, which is a community-owned facility. It was protected by a defence cell barrier during the peak of the floods, which is essentially a cage-like sandbag structure that helped to keep those floodwaters out, and did a great job in doing so. As those floodwaters are receding, and quite quickly, as you can see behind me, it is now time to pack up some of those structures and slowly get back to some sense of normality. So yesterday we saw a whole lot of volunteers out at the Renmark Club, including the Renmark Rovers Football Club and some members of the Paringa Football Club doing some of their pre-season training, literally shoveling so much dirt out of the area to open up this deck area where I'm standing now and help try and inject some funds back into the Riverland with tourism and with people hoping that they can come and visit now things are reopening again.
A teenager has been charged with murder after a 43-year-old man was stabbed and killed in Brisbane.
I can tell you that police are still asking for the public assistance in relation to the death of this 43-year-old man. They're asking for anyone that was driving along this road, Newmarket Road in Wilston, on Sunday, early Sunday morning, between about 11 p.m. on Saturday night and 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. But we are in a position now to name the man that was killed in this horrific attack, a 43-year-old. His name is David George Connolly. And so I'm here at the scene this morning. You can just see this is where it happened. There are some flowers that have been laid down here at the scene this morning, recently, and there's also a card here with the name David written on it. You can see the train station over here, Wilston train station, CBD, so it'd be a shock for all the people that live around here that this actually happened. So early, the body was discovered here at this particular spot about 1:50 a.m. on Sunday morning. But earlier, police had picked up a 17-year-old man. He was running in a westerly direction from where I am this morning, and they picked him up, they questioned him, and...
Sikhs hunting for a mass murder in Los Angeles have found a man dead in a van. It hasn't been officially confirmed yet if that man is the killer. Earlier, 10 people died and another 10 were injured in a mass shooting in a dance studio in another part of LA.
Police have confirmed that an operation that is underway at the moment at Torrance, southwest of Monterey Park, is connected to this shooting late last night in which 10 people were killed and another 10 people were injured. We have seen aerial footage coming in over the past few hours showing police cars surrounding a white van. We later saw police officers entering that vehicle, and US media outlets are reporting that a person's body was found inside. Now, officers have not confirmed at this point in time as to whether they believe the body is that of the suspect that they have been searching for. And indeed, we've seen other footage coming in showing police surrounding a separate white van. So it's still a developing situation at the moment. Police have said that they will provide updates throughout the day. They had earlier released a photo of the person that they were looking for in connection with this mass shooting. They had described him as an Asian man between the ages of 30 and 50.
You're watching National MTV News. Trukai Sports is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Raiders Namona Rugby Club has booked a spot in the semi-finals playoff at the NCD Governors Cup washout matches competed yesterday at the Mosby South Stadium.
Following an intense battle between the Capital Macaus and the Riders Namona yesterday afternoon at the Mosby South Stadium, the Riders Namona proved too strong over their opponents, defeating them with a 2-point margin at the final huta. There was a dispute between these two clubs towards the last 3 minutes of the match, which witnessed the match officials offering an extra 3 minutes where the Namona side took advantage of to book a spot in the semi-final round of the tournament. An elated Riders Namona captain Carl Wesu shared his delightment following their win after the clash.
Frank, I'm putting this try, 8, so I'm lead on them 10-8, blowing 2 points.
Captain Wesu, upon expressing his excitement, also shared the training preparations that the Namona side will undergo ahead of the semi-finals next week.
Line speed, mibla. Magi, walk plan the light speed, tackle ball. Mibla need walk through line speed, na ball. Handling mibla ball. Security mibla, so mibla come again next semi-final finish.
The semi-final round is set to take place next week at the Mosby South Stadium, where the top 4 teams will compete to see the top 2 teams advancing through to the grand final clash of the NCD Governors Cup 2022. Lisa Puni, Chukai Sports.
The Northern Suburban League has completed its regular rounds competition today. The tournament will enter its finals playoff next weekend at the Red Sea Rugby Field, which will run for 4 weeks.
The Northern Suburban League competition held its final round of regular competitions yesterday for all its divisions at the Bomana Red Sea Oval. The teams currently dominating the ladder points of the competition was highlighted by tournament match coordinator David Yelora.
Under 20s, Keifaris under 20s, Keifaris, GB Dogs, Keifaris, Double Dogs, M2 runner-up under 20s. Kalau A grade them lagi Erima Bulls. Na one still pending today now decide the game.
Yelora further emphasized that for the finals playoff, which is expected to eventuate next week, should witness the top 8 teams competing.
So now just a final round. We playing star, all teams play star in final round. So we got a top 8 next week. Then we will play for control of finals.
The tournament has been on hold for a week due to the NCD Governors Cup competition at the Bomana Red Sea Oval. With the resumption of the games this week, despite a week of absence due to the NCD Governors Cup, the tournament shall head straight into its finals playoff next week. Lisa Puni, Chukai Sports.
A press conference was held today at the PNG Football Stadium following an incident that occurred right after the semi-final match between the Hekari United FC and the Gulf Komara FC over the weekend.
Present at the conference today to rectify the incident that occurred amongst the supporters of the Southern Conference semi-finalists was PNG Sports Foundation President John Capinato along with NSL Executive Committee. During President Capinato's address, he clarified that the incident erupted outside of the field and eventually reached the sporting vicinity. This further led to YouTube and social media posts relating to the incident that occurred.
Somebody uploading on YouTube and somebody putting on Facebook and all that. We've had discussion. I told them that it's a matter that was already done off the mats. It was an outside incident that rolled into the field of play, chasing.
President Capinato assured that the law will be in full force in the grand final playoff of the men's NSL and the upcoming National Soccer League tournament.
I want to bring law in and all that, but just because of what had happened, we need to call full security to be here in the grand final and also in the national playoffs.
Representing the NSL committee was competition manager Amjad Tekwi, who shared the same sentiment as that of the PNG Sports Foundation president John Capinato.
Over the weekend, we will do our best to make sure that we tighten up on security. That will be one of our main priorities.
Meanwhile, the grand final clash of the Men's National Soccer League tournament between the Hekari United FC and the Lay City FC is set for next week here in Port Moresby and has been reviewed and agreed to by team managers. Lisa Puni, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
You're watching Trukai Sports. Moving overseas now, and Stefano Tsitsipas. He's a third seed and he survived a 5-set thriller at Melbourne Park and is booked his place in the final 8 of the Aussie Open.
He was able to find another gear after jumping out of the blocks really fast. He got out to a 2-set lead. Yannick Sinner forced his way back into the contest, evening it up at 2 sets apiece. And then in the fifth set, he secured the crucial break of serve in the 6th game of the final set and didn't look back from there. I think we'll see these two playing against each other at the pointy end of majors for quite some time. Ironically, Tsitsipas also knocked out Yannick Sinner last year. He did it in straight sets last year. This year, it took him 5 sets.
The Sydney Kings are looking a bit vulnerable late in the season as they have been on a losing streak.
93-88 was the final score. The Breakers snapped a losing streak of their own. They were on a 4-game losing streak, but they were good enough to get the job done against the Kings. They enjoyed the win in front of just over 14,000 people. It was actually the largest crowd of any game this year, and that was the bucket that really sunk the Sydney back. So yeah, well done to the Breakers. They break their losing streak, and the Sydney Kings end up on a little one of their own. So yeah, getting towards the pointy end of the NBL as well.
That ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
Weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Port Moresby, partly cloudy with possible patchy rain. Daru, few showers. Germa, cloudy periods with rain at times. Alatau and Popondetta, partly cloudy. In the Momase region, Lay, possible brief showers overnight. Medang, partly cloudy with possible brief showers. Wewak and Vanimo, brief overnight showers. In the New Guinea Islands region, Loringau, few showers and possible thunderstorm. KV and brief showers and possible thunderstorm. Kokopo and Rabaul, partly cloudy with possible brief showers. Kimbe, possible brief showers. Buka, brief showers. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Mendi and Wabe, cloudy periods with rain at times, then morning fog. Goroka and Kundiawa, cloudy periods with patchy rain, then morning fog.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Monday, the 23rd of January 2023. From the entire news team, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.